So, one thing, hashtag eat more oysters.
There you go.
Just want everybody to hear that. Eat more oysters. The nutritionist said it, okay?
It helps your sperm count. It's natural. You're trying to have a baby.
Hey, what's going on, good people? This is Gardner Douglas, and I'm your Oyster Ninja still. They haven't fired me yet. I'm still here. I'm still shucking oysters. Still talking about these oysters. And speaking of talking about these oysters, I owe a huge apology to the class I did in D.C. I had a little brain fart. And you can't even call it a brain fart. It was like a total meltdown, shutdown, blocked out. Like all my thoughts just crumbled. All my knowledge was like it was wiped away. So anyway, I apologize to you guys. I hope you guys did, learn something from that class. And for the listeners, of course, it was a small class, but for the listeners, basically what happened was I was educating about oysters, and I don't even remember what the question was now. That's how threw off I was. A young lady asked a question about oysters, and I hit a blank. I hit a brick wall, and it was like I was pulling for the knowledge, and nothing was there. And then it's just, and I don't know. I froze up after that, and I ended up just. I wouldn't even call it bouncing back, but I just changed subjects I don't believe I answered a question. And, talked about something I didn't know, and that's, of course, shucking. So that kind of loosened me up a little bit, but I do want to do more educational classes. It's nothing I haven't done before, and, that was just a bad experience. I guess everybody has it. Every, person has that time where they just blew it, and I did blow it, and I'm apologizing now, and I'm sorry. This episode is all about the nutrition of oysters and why we should eat oysters. And I can honestly say, and I'm always honestly saying, if you haven't listened to more than one podcast, but this podcast episode here, I think you guys will, that aha or that, that factor is going to come in effect. And, you learn about, of course, why we should eat oysters, what we should look for when we go to a raw bar and we're eating oysters, what vitamins and minerals are inside of oysters. And, I don't want to give any spoiler alerts, but it's some funny pieces in here, and I kind of felt like a kid at times talking about some of the topics. I hope you guys enjoy it. We're gonna jump in it right now, and I want you guys to meet my friend, Miss Laura Henderson. I guess that's why we probably had a good time doing this show. We worked together back in our days at the local Oyster in Baltimore and Mount Vernon, and this is a great young lady. She's a nutritionist now, doing her thing, has her own practice. So, of course, her information will be in the links below. And let me know what you think. The people want to know.
Yeah, right? I don't think, have you talked to anybody about nutrients and oysters before?
Nope, because I was waiting on you.
Awesome. I'm excited then. This is my first podcast, so it's a first for me as well.
Oh, snap.
So, we met working at the local oyster. That was the first time I'd ever shucked an oyster.
Right.
But you've been doing it for a while.
I have.
Yeah.
I have, yeah. It was like around 10 years now.
But it's one of those things, like, I really like food, which I think makes sense because I'm a licensed nutritionist.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of threw myself into it and did research and was looking at the farms. And I had already written a paper for my master's program at Maryland University of Integrative Health,
Mm-hmm.
where I was studying while I was working at the local oyster. So I did a paper on like sustainability and local seafood, and oyster farms kept popping up.
Right.
And I emailed Nick and was like, I need more information because I knew he did that. And he was
Right.
like, talk to Patrick. And so I ended up talking to Nick and Patrick about oysters before I even worked for them.
Right.
And
So
then ended up
Patrick, True
working for them.
Chesapeake.
Yeah, at True Chesapeake.
Yeah.
Because he was saying, oyster farms are truly sustainable. So that was like the first little nibble I got on like oyster information, but I hadn't even I think I'd eaten one
Right.
before I started working there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was your first experience like?
So I was at somebody's house, and they were barbecuing and whatever.
Right.
And you gotta try one. And I was like, okay. It was total peer pressure
Right.
situation.
That's one of the methods of getting people to eat oysters.
It wasn't my favorite experience.
Okay.
And then Nick started to make me eat them while we were working.
Right.
And
That's another
slowly-
method.
Yeah, he would just open it and give it to me.
Right.
So yeah, a little force feeding, but I learned to like it.
Yeah.
And now my husband really is addicted to the cooked ones
Nice.
with the cheese.
Oh,
whenever
man,
we
this
go
is
on
so good.
vacation. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very salty and delicious.
So does he prefer broiled or baked?
He likes, so we just put him on the grill.
Okay.
Usually we're on vacation in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some friends with us, and we're back outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught the boys to shuck their own oysters.
Nice,
Finally.
Thanks for the invite. Go ahead. Okay.
Well, we tried to invite Nick, and he was a little too busy.
Right.
But we just eat oysters all weekend long.
Nice.
They're a treat.
Sounds like a good time.
So I graduated after working at the local oyster, and now I have a private practice in Hamden. I see clients a couple days a week.
Okay.
So
what does it mean to be a licensed nutritionist?
I have a very specific certification. So there's a registered dietitian, and they have a specific education they have to follow, certifications, training, and I'm a certified nutrition specialist or a nutritionist.
Fancy.
So I have an undergraduate degree in health and exercise science, and then I went to graduate school and I have a master's degree. And then I had to get 1,000 hours of certified work. Yeah, so I had to work underneath other nutritionists and see clients and get experience and sit for my board exam. And then I had to take all that information and give it to the state of Maryland and show them so I could get a license to operate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Deep breath.
Yeah. It's been a busy few years. But now I'm learning how to really kind of multitask, I think. But it's my passion. And
Right.
so it's not so much work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk more about oysters. So
Yeah.
I think when I talk about oysters, people's main concern is safety. My classmates were like, I don't know.
Right.
So that is true. There are some concerns, but they're relatively small. There are parasites known, but they're more harmful to the oyster themselves.
Right.
And I think that's where farming came in. We saw a lot of oyster die off and then overfishing.
Right.
So they started farming, and the slightly modified oysters that they're farming are different than wild ones. So they're more resistant to these parasites. So that's something. That's just something to keep an eye out about. But you can get more information from the FDA's website, whether or not oysters in your area or the water in your area is safe
Right.
to take oysters out of. But farms always test their water as well.
Right. I know when I'm shucking at events, that's if people are not there for oysters, it's always that look, especially if it's summertime.
Mm-hmm.
Oysters during the summertime, is this right? Can you eat them?
Right, the months ending
The
in
R month, yeah.
And I think I'm assuming that was before refrigeration.
Right.
Because you definitely want to keep them on ice.
No doubt.
Or refrigerated at the proper temperature. But every place that's serving oysters, they have those signs. It's warning, raw seafood, or
Right.
anybody even serving an undercooked burger has to
Right.
have those signs in an establishment. But as long as you're wearing gloves, washing your hands, and keeping the oysters on ice or refrigerated properly, and you're eating them quickly, you get them out of the water and you eat with them within a few days, then you're fine.
Right.
And you know what the signs are of an oyster you wouldn't serve.
Yeah.
the
Shriveled up.
Yeah, like shellfish is pretty easy to see, like the shell's open or some smells, or that's obvious. And then there are some bacteria, but they tend to thrive in warmer waters. So when I've done research, it's more of a concern when you're down in the south and the water is warm year round, and bacteria can flourish. But even then, they said it's a really small chance of that incident. So like the EPA and the FDA recommend that at-risk populations don't eat oysters.
Right.
So we're looking at like really young children.
And really mature people.
Mature. That's a good way to put it. I was going to say something else. Because their stomach acid isn't as strong, or their immune systems might be compromised. That's another population. If you know you have immune issues, you shouldn't be eating raw seafood ever. Cooked might be a different situation. You could safely probably consume cooked seafood, but just making sure that the seafood is cooked properly and to temperature.
Right.
And a lot of times you can just do that at home to make sure.
Okay.
And check the temperature.
Easy enough.
Um,
So if you're at a raw bar, like what kind of precautions can you take? Like, hey, these oysters, I know this is a raw bar and you guys are established. Can you ask for tags, or can you ask, what can an average consumer do?
So if I were to walk into some place and I see they're serving raw oysters, I'm going to look and see if I know the person shucking locally.
Right.
That helps. And I'm going to be like, yes, I will take oysters from that person that I know, because I know that they know what they're doing. But if, say, I were to go out of town and I'm trying a new place, I would totally, like, just peek at people's plates, see what they look like, watch the guy shucking or lady shucking, see, are they wearing gloves? What's their workstation look like? Like, is it a hot mess, or is it clean? Are they sanitizing? Do they have like a cheeseburger next to like the raw? Like, are they keeping everything the way they're supposed to?
Right.
And then you can ask for the tags, because legally they're supposed to keep them. What is it?
30 days. Some restaurant 30 more. Some more like 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they should know exactly when that oyster came out of the water, where it came out of the water from, and those are some things you could totally legitimately do. I don't know, like, what the shucker would do if you asked for a tag, but, like, that's totally within your ability as a consumer.
Right.
So, how many people do you know have, like, regular heartburn and they take, like, a Pepsid?
Hand up.
Yeah. So, PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, acid reducers, people take those, like, every day, all day.
Popping them.
Yeah, so it reduces your stomach acid, which is your, like, first line of defense against things that shouldn't be entering your body. So that's something to keep in mind if, like, you've been on a PPI, like, if you take a Pepsid every single day, your stomach acid is reduced. So it could change your body's susceptibility to something in raw seafood.
Right, okay. All right. So why would, I don't know if you know it, but why would your PPI be that high? Is it just like an imbalance?
So PPI is the proton pump inhibitor. That's the medication. That's, like, the jargon for an antacid.
Oh, okay.
So if you have chronic, like, heartburn or GERD, your doctor would give you this medication and say, you're just going to be on this indefinitely.
Right.
But your stomach acid is there to break down things and to protect you.
Right.
It's like the first step of immune defense. So that, it would be high. Some people, it's a genetic thing. Some people just tend to have, like, they've had stomach issues. Some people, when they get pregnant or when they gain weight, it physically manipulates the position of their stomach, so acid can kind of move into an area that it shouldn't be.
Story of my life.
Yeah. But diet and weight and lifestyle are big contributors. So if you are stressed out and you're working all the time and you're a little overweight, and you're drinking a lot of alcohol and junk food, those are all things, or you were, like, not sitting down to eat your meal properly. If you are, like, not chewing and you're gulping, like, those are all things that exacerbate, like, acid reflux symptoms. Wow. We can work on that. I can show you some little tips to help your acid reflux.
Okay.
It's really simple. You can do some, like, tiny little things to help, but you definitely, those aren't medications that are going to correct your acid reflux. It's just going to treat the symptoms for a long period of time. But that's just something to note. Like, I would like to do more research on that, because I wonder if anybody's looked into, like, safety and stomach acid and taking those medications.
Oysters.
Yeah.
How are they good for you?
So the big heavy hitter in an oyster is zinc. So it's an essential mineral that everybody needs to get in their diet. You can get it from, I think a lot of people are probably getting it from fortified foods. You see like you're eating bread or crackers or cereal and it's fortified with minerals. And one of the reasons is the mineral density of our soil and our foods is probably reduced over time. You can find studies that show this. People don't always have access to seafood, which was traditionally a way that we would absorb minerals. The ocean provides minerals, like you look at sea salt, and it's got other minerals on it besides sodium and chloride. But it's animal meats, beef, poultry, lamb, but zinc, you can eat 4 oysters, and you get like 4 times as much zinc as the FDA recommends.
Oh, wow.
So there's something called an RDA, and that is just an abbreviation for recommended dietary allowance. And that is a level set by the government for healthy individuals, how much you should take in. And they say that like the average adult male needs 11 milligrams. And from raw oysters, you get like 35 from 4.
Okay.
So you don't, it's almost like a supplement.
So when you're going to the oyster festivals and oyster roasts and you're eating 40 and 50 oysters,
you're getting a lot of zinc.
So what if you have too much zinc? Is there such thing?
Yes, but that's normally from supplements. Like if you're taking a pill and you're taking a lot of it, it can cause nausea, diarrhea, headaches, vomiting. Like you would know. You're like, I should probably take that because you would start taking it and feel it almost immediately if you've taken too much.
Wow.
Because they've only known that zinc was essential for humans, I think, starting in the 60s, because people in the Middle East were eating a lot of grains. And now we're getting into, like, my total nerd phase. So there's a thing called phytates in, like, beans and grains and seeds. And it is a protective covering, I guess you can call it. Kind of like the germ is the protective covering of these grains and seeds. So unless you soak these things and break down the phytates...
Wow, so that's why people soak... okay, I got you.
Well, one of the reasons you would, like, soak brown rice.
Right.
Or beans, like, for, like, overnight or 6 hours. It not only reduces the cooking time, but it makes all of the minerals and nutrients in those foods more, we call it bioavailable, so your body can utilize.
Get that out of here.
So that's why all over the world you see a lot of populations, the main staple in their diet is, like, rice and beans, but they're going to cook them for, like, really long periods of time. They're going to soak them, and they're going to help absorb more nutrients out of them. So some of the first studies were zinc supplementation and just soaking, and because they didn't realize that it was something that they knew that plants and animals needed zinc, but they didn't realize that humans needed it until the 60s.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting. I don't know if everybody else does.
So what does zinc actually do for you? Like, what does it do for the body?
It is it's a big player in a lot of cellular functions. So some people will say it's involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body.
That sounds important.
So it allows processes to occur. It makes them speed up. It's really, so the latest research that I'm reading, which I think is very interesting.
You're in it.
it's super cool. So it has a big part, it could potentially be a big part of male fertility. So there's some meta-analysis, so they look at a bunch of research and they kind of summarize what they found. Typically, men who are getting enough zinc have higher sperm count.
Get that out of here, okay.
And it also is a protector of the cells. It's an antioxidant. It's a huge part of your immune system. More and more research, like there's tons of research showing if you start taking zinc when you think you're getting sick, you're going to be sick for a shorter period of time.
Wow.
So most people think of immune function when they think of zinc. But it protects your cells. It's really important in your eye health, actually. Researchers have done a lot of research showing that older populations, when taking other antioxidants along with zinc, that their eye health improves, or the decrease in like their eye health stops. So if you have some degeneration, it can be helpful.
It's all coming together now. My last eye exam, my eyes got better for the first time.
Really?
Now, for the people who only know me through this podcast and shucking, I wasn't a big oyster eater. I'm coming out. All right. I wasn't a big oyster eater. Now I'm a believer. I'm in the club. I'm the president. But like, I went to the eye doctor, Mr. Douglas. Your eyes have got a little better. So hey, maybe it's the oysters. Maybe it's not. Maybe I just had a good day. But I'm gonna stick with oysters.
That's amazing.
That's my testimony.
You're preaching the church of oysters now. You're gonna have like a little wagon with like your oysters on the back, like the snake oil guys.
No, snake oil. Yeah, exactly. Wow, that's amazing.
So besides the zinc, though, like they're a good source of protein. If you're eating them raw, you're getting moisture in your diet instead of having to drink everything.
Right.
But they have other minerals. So they have calcium, iron, phosphorus, potassium, sodium. They actually have a fairly decent amount of B12, which people are all about the B vitamins.
But what is the B vitamin? What is B12?
B12. So B vitamins, it's a class of water-soluble vitamins, meaning your body doesn't store them. So there's fat-soluble and water-soluble. Fat-soluble, your body stores. That's A, D, E, and K. And then there's a myriad of B vitamins. And they're mostly involved in metabolism, energy production.
Energy?
Yes.
Okay.
So when people aren't feeling so great, they can sometimes take a B vitamin or increase their dietary B vitamin intake, and they might feel a little boost in energy levels.
I've been preaching this for years, ever since I started reading about oysters and basically doing oyster events. I'm like, eat an oyster, it'll make you feel better. It'll bring your spirits right up. Like, soon as you eat it, like, whoo, get that wiggle.
There is
get
something special about taking something out of the water and then eat it. It's very primal. Like, people have been eating raw seafood since the dawn of time.
Yes.
They saw something, they're like, I bet I can eat that, and they eat it.
Yeah.
So it's funny because one of the articles I read was like, we've been doing this for a very long time, but should we continue? Like, is it safe?
Who said that? I'll go get them. Who said that?
But I think that, they're one of the more nutrient-dense seafood items. Everybody thinks fish is really healthy. I think they think about like the omega-3s. Zinc, I don't think provides a significant source of omega-3s, but it's if you're going to eat seafood or shellfish, it's definitely up there with one of the healthier ones you can choose.
Okay, and what about iron? What exactly, like, how does that affect you?
So iron is really important for prevention of anemia. And how your red blood cells function. So again, if you're feeling fatigued, you might need more iron. Women need more iron than men do because women menstruate and they have blood loss every month. Again, iron is one of those foods that's going to be in like your fortified foods. So there's fortified and enriched. And fortifying is like adding things to something that already exists and kind of making it, I guess, stronger. Enrichment, they kind of strip the nutrients out of some foods like grains and then re-add them back in. I know.
Why would he do that?
It sounds crazy, right?
What's up with natural?
I know. So processed food is processed, and sometimes they add some synthetic forms of supplements back into foods.
I'm mind blown. Like, what? I don't know if you know, but what's that process? Like, how do you take out nutrients and then put back in?
So here's an example, and I can't get into the specifics, but this is something that kind of, I didn't think about it until I got into school, was steel cut oats versus rolled oats. So steel cut, takes like a really long time to cook. They're kind of in their more organic form, like you've done less to them. Like they've just been kind of chopped up and opened up and you can cook them. Rolled oats are taking the steel cut oats, and this is a mechanical process where they like steam them and then roll them out so they're flat like that. So they're going through an extra process. Now, how does that affect the nutrient density? I would have to do more research about that. But that was something that kind of like, I didn't even think about until somebody asked me what the difference was.
Right.
So think about every time you're getting some sort of grain product, whether it's rice or bread, and you have to think, it grew in the ground, but how did they grow it? And after they grew it, what did they do to it? Between the ground, that first product, and my plate, like, it goes through a lot of hands.
Right.
So it's interesting, but when you go get an oyster, you can go talk to Nick and Patrick and be like, where did this oyster come from? And they're like, St. Jerome's Creek, and it came out yesterday.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a huge difference in the food chain.
Boom, mind blown. All right.
I know. Yeah, I would encourage more people to ask, not only about seafood, just to ask in general about where their food's coming from.
But that's your job also.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Talk to the farmers at the farmers market.
Right.
Go visit the farms. Go visit the hatcheries where your food is being grown.
Field trip coming soon.
Yeah, no, yeah. I haven't made it to any oyster farms yet. I'm going to do that this summer. I talked to a chef. And so chefs get together. They have these associations and they go on field trips. And they go with the DNR and they go see oyster reefs. Because chefs want to know where their food is coming from.
Right.
Because whatever they're putting out, that's their reputation on the line. They don't want a bad oyster on a plate.
Right.
Just like a shucker doesn't. But zinc is that big one. It's water and zinc. And then I compared raw oysters and cooked oysters, and the nutrient density doesn't really change significantly. It goes down ever so slightly. So if you don't like a raw oyster, go ahead and enjoy a nice broiled oyster. Put them on the grill. Wait till the shell opens up. You can just pop them.
So now we're talking about cooking classes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I love that. I've done some cooking demonstrations, and that's fun when you can cook for somebody.
Right.
And you can provide them with a food that tastes good, and then you're like, hey, guess what? You're also getting all of these nutrients that you need. Like zinc, an essential nutrient and mineral. Like, you need that in your diet. Ooh. So we've talked about zinc.
Right, we've talked about zinc. What are you doing?
We want to have a little experiment.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Guinea pig.
Yeah, sure.
I've done this with many people. Nobody's died yet.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm kidding. People die all the time.
Could this be the episode that nobody hears?
So what I've just poured is zinc tally, and this is from Metagenics. So nutritionists use this as a little test with their clients, and I think it's super cool, and it kind of blows my mind. So it's just a liquid zinc, and I'm going to have Gardner, and I'm going to drink it too, because I've been taking zinc supplements, so it's going to tell me if I'm taking enough. Mm-hmm. So we're going to put it in our mouths. Okay. We're going to swish it around for a few seconds.
Swish, swish.
If it tastes terrible, you can spit it back out into your cup, or you can swallow it. And then, after a few seconds, I want you to tell me if you taste anything or any sensations.
Hold on. So we're going to swish it around.
Yeah.
And then if it tastes yucky, spit it out.
Yeah, if it's like awful, some people say it tastes terrible, you can spit it back into your cup.
But if not, swallow it.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. You don't have to swallow it, you don't have to spit it out. It's totally up to you.
Okay.
But I want you to tell me if there's any sensations, if there's any tastes.
Okay.
And I'm going to do it too. You ready?
Hold on, I got to call my wife. She's joking. All right, let's go. Tastes like water.
So, if you have really good zinc status, it should taste terrible.
Oh gosh.
You should want to spit it out.
Oh man.
So it's a little in-office test to show that we all need more zinc than we're getting. Mostly, I've had maybe 2 people ever say they can taste it.
Right.
And I've been supplementing with zinc. So the average adult male needs 11 milligrams, and average adult female needs 8 milligrams. I've been taking this supplement. So I broke my wrist in December, and I've been taking a little bit more care of myself. So I've been taking some extra supplements. I've been taking 50 milligrams, which is 300% of your daily need.
There we go.
Every single day. And I still can barely taste anything.
Wow.
When I take the zinc tally test. Because when you are really stressed out and you're running around and you're working, your body needs a little bit more help. And I don't even know who's to say how much of this supplement I'm actually absorbing. That's another question when you're supplementing. So maybe I just need to eat more oysters.
Exactly, duh. So you said, so how much zinc can you get out of oysters?
So 4 of them you get, let's see, I have it right here, 33 milligrams out of 4 oysters. And you only need, at most, 11 milligrams.
Okay.
So really, if you ate oysters every day, you should be pretty good. And it's more bioavailable from natural sources, from food-borne sources. Animal sources are more bioavailable. We talked about you having to soak the grains, the beans. So there's some things that, like the phytates, that attach to the zinc and keep you from absorbing it.
Right.
Whereas in the animal sources, it's more bioavailable. So if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you really need to soak your grains before you cook them, your beans before you cook them, and maybe look into a zinc supplement.
Okay. So, one thing, hashtag eat more oysters.
There you go.
Just want everybody to hear that. Eat more oysters. The nutritionist said it, okay?
It helps your sperm count. It's natural. You're trying to have a baby. But pregnant women shouldn't be eating raw oysters, I'll say that. So after you get pregnant, the lady should abstain until after she's done giving birth. And then I would even be cautious if you are breastfeeding, because whatever, you're putting into your body.
Right. So, I'm going to say this. I didn't really think that not eating oysters was a thing until I moved into the city.
Okay.
Because on the shore, the eastern shore,
everybody
just eats oysters.
Interesting, because I grew up, so the last place I lived was north central Pennsylvania before I moved to Maryland.
Right.
And I never saw fish on our plate at home, let alone an oyster or a mussel or a clam. I think my dad would eat clams like once a year. So moving to Maryland was a whole new experience for me.
Yeah, blast of seafood.
And I have embraced it. And I love it.
Right.
Oh my, I love everything. So I think the zinc and the sperm count must be to blame for that aphrodisiac label. And then I was reading in my textbook. The textbook literally has a picture of a woman eating a piece of chocolate saying, chocolate has zinc. And chocolate's an aphrodisiac too.
It is.
In theory. So I just thought that was a really cool connection, that zinc, aphrodisiacs, eat more chocolate and oysters.
So,
not together though, that's gross.
Right. I don't know much about sperm count. That's a little fancy.
So if you're trying to get pregnant, that's something you would check if you were having some issues.
Right.
You would want more.
My question is,
my
awkward question is, so if you have a high sperm count, are you more horny or?
I don't think so. I think
it's just far as baby making.
Yeah, baby making, like lower sperm count. So zinc is involved in testosterone levels as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and something called hypogonadism.
Gonad. That sounds...
Yes. So we're getting into weird territories. But
that sounds provocative.
Scientifically speaking, men need testosterone to produce offspring.
Right.
And they need sperm. So you need your sperm counts to be up. You need good testosterone levels. These are all things that a doctor can tell you when you're trying to have children.
Right.
They can test all this stuff.
Right.
So it's interesting now that they have research. They basically went and asked a bunch of men for their... and then would look at it and see what was going on, and then supplement with zinc to see what the results were. And most often, the sperm count would go up after zinc supplementation.
All right, easy enough.
There you go. That should be enough motivation for the men of the world.
That's like another hashtag, eat more oysters. Yeah.
Oh.
If you want the babies.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. I can go in even greater detail about some of the minerals that are in oysters besides zinc.
Are any of them going to help us out?
Oh, yeah. So a big one is phosphorus. You get 80 milligrams of phosphorus. The RDA is 700 milligrams a day. And that's, so a cool fact is 1% of your body weight is phosphorus. It's the most abundant mineral in the body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so use it mostly in bone and your teeth, but it works along with the B vitamins as well, and it's important for kidney function, muscle contractions, a normal heartbeat, so the electrical functioning of your body.
Wow, eat more oysters.
Yeah, right?
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, totally mineral dense. And we talked about the B12. It's got 7 micrograms of B12 for oysters, and the RDA is only 2.6. So it really is like, you know how they talk about superfoods?
Right.
Like there's always like some doctor on TV like eat goji berries or chia seeds or collagen powder. Nobody's ever talked about oysters as like a
It's time for a change.
Dr. Gardner's going to get on TV.
I can't get my top secret out now because everybody's listening, so I'm just going to leave it there. You guys just wait and see about this superfood we call oyster. That's great. So what about calories? People always talk to me about like calories in oysters. Like,
so let's see, 6 medium oysters that's providing you all those nutrients. You're only getting 43 calories. So they're not like, if people are calorie counting, they shouldn't be concerned with over consuming calories when they're snacking on oysters. And people generally eat like 6 to 12 anyways.
right.
So you're only looking at 40 to 80 calories even if you ate a plate of 12. Not including any of the extra toppings.
Right, that's where they get
But
you.
usually it's fresh. Horseradish, lemon juice,
Mm-hmm.
onions, things that are pretty low in calories.
Does horseradish have any nutritional value?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but I know it's more considered like a culinary herb or like a spice, something you would use either to flavor your dish, but it's also, so those kind of like very warming things, so the capsaicin from peppers and horseradish, people use those in a way medicinally, potentially, I'm going to assume, because peppers have been used in that way. You know, when you eat the horseradish, your sinuses open up, so it's
Right.
probably a vasodilator, so increased blood flow. I don't know if you've ever heard of Ayurveda.
Of course I have. Who hasn't?
So the ancient Indian like medicinal and health practice, it combines yoga and diet and lifestyle changes. So in Ayurvedic, you want a good like warm, fiery belly so you can digest your food. So some people need more fire in their life.
Does
and
that
in their
mean like
diet.
spicy or?
Sometimes there's like warming foods and cooling foods, and it's not literal. It's not like, this food is hot and spicy, so I need more of it. But things that are good for your intestinal health sometimes add a little warmth. If people have a hard time digesting food, sometimes they need a little warmth. Sometimes they're too fiery and they need a little cooling.
Okay.
So I don't know that oysters were eaten in India. I don't think so, but I don't know where they would fit into that spectrum of food.
Right.
But typically you see things like duck is cooling. Like there's different ways to cook foods and create different benefits from the things that are already existing in them.
Okay. Look at that fanciness. No doubt. What else we got?
So we talked about phytates, we talked about zinc and minerals, we talked a lot about sperm, we talked about the risks.
Let's talk about you.
Okay.
So what's your long-term goal, like as a nutritionist and on this healthy thing?
So I have my private practice, and most nutritionists I know, they have multiple things that they're doing at once. Like they're teaching, they're working in their private practice, they also have like a full-time job. So I've never met a nutritionist that's just like, I go to work Monday through Friday and then it's done. So what I would like to do is see more clients on a private practice like a couple days a week. But I also work for MUIH in the cooking labs.
MUIH, what is that?
Maryland University of Integrative Health. So we have cooking labs every month, and I help set them up with the instructor. We bring students in that are future nutritionists, and we teach them how to prepare therapeutic foods, from just basic knife skills up to making their own bone broth and their own therapeutic meals for their clients. And I'd like to do that for a while. It's really interesting. I work with a lot of chefs that are really talented. A lot of the chefs are also nutritionists, and they're just people that always keep learning. Like they're always going and learning more. So it's a great atmosphere of support and learning. So just to keep my private practice going, taking new clients, and then see if I like working for a university, maybe go back in a different capacity, because we have a natural care center at the university. So people can come in and get acupuncture from a student. They can get, yes, herbs prescribed by a student. They can see a student nutritionist. They even now have licensed massage therapists in our care center. And it's all at a discounted rate because most of it, I'm not sure, the massage therapists I don't think are students, so that might not be discounted. But you can see a nutritionist for $80 as opposed to $300 because it's student.
Right.
So it's a really cool thing to start with if you've never seen anybody. A great way. I'm going to go get acupuncture because I can get it as an employee of the university at a discounted rate.
Can you bring a friend?
Friends and family discount, please. And that's in Laurel. So if anybody's in that area and they're looking for maybe some more information,
Laurel, Maryland,
about health and wellness, that's a great place to start because you're helping the students. They need practice hours and they're always supervised by professionals. but then you get to ask them questions and challenge them, and you get to learn more, and then you get to feel the outcomes of that lovely treatment.
So what is acupuncture, and what are the benefits of acupuncture?
So it is kind of in vein with Ayurveda, that it's this ancient tradition, and it was originally like an oral history that was passed down among people. This school was started, I believe, in the 70s. The founders went to the UK and did some studies and then brought acupuncture back, and it was one of the first schools in the area.
You talking about the MUIH?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was formerly known as Thai Sophia, and it was an acupuncture school. So they take very tiny needles, and it's not like the syringe that they use to inject like a vaccine. You can barely see these things.
But can you barely feel them?
It depends on where they're putting them. It's really interesting. So you have like a little entrance interview with the acupuncturist, and you say, I have migraines, or I have trouble sleeping, and you talk about how your body feels. And then they do like a cleansing when I went in, they did a bunch of points in my back just to kind of prepare my body for treatment. And you go back every couple of weeks, and the acupuncturist says, well, how are you feeling today? What's going on with you? And I would say, oh, man, I'm really like stressed out. I don't feel good. And she would take your pulses, or he. So they use their fingers and they take pulses in different parts of your wrist. And it's kind of their test to see how your energy is flowing through your body, or chi. And then they would base their treatment upon what you said and your pulses. And so I would get, very often my acupuncturist puts the needles in my ankles and my feet. Sometimes in my chest. If I can't settle down, she'll put one between my eyes.
What do you mean, settle down?
Like if my brain is like, they call it monkey brain, where I can't like calm down and I'm like running through my grocery list of things to do, she'll put one right between my eyes.
How does that feel?
You don't feel that one at all. The ones that have not felt so great, she put one in my sternum, and there's like a bone right there, so that it wasn't, but you say that doesn't feel comfortable, and they take it out.
But you've already gone through that.
It's not that bad. It's not bad. The knees, the sides of my knees, that kind of hurt. She put one in my toe once. I showed up with a hangover, and she did the hangover point. I was like, I'm scared. So She was like, all right, just breathe out when I put it in, because they ask you to breathe in and then breathe out, and they put it in.
Sounds relaxing.
Mostly, yeah. That one, and sometimes they just put them in and then they pull them right out.
Okay.
Some of them they leave in and they'll leave the room, and you kind of sit with the needles in your body.
Are you in like a steam room, or are you just in like a regular room, or? It's
the same kind of room a massage therapist would use. So there's like a bed, and it's just a small little room, and they have a little cupboard for all their needles, and they might have other things going, like some herbs and some crystals and whatnot.
So is it like a whole pack of like one-use needles, or what?
So they use them, and then they discard them in a safe box, like you would do with the biohazard stuff at a doctor's office.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's all safe and clean. I highly recommend it. It's a great way to integrate other practices and modalities if you're seeing a nutritionist to see an acupuncturist. If you're trying to lose weight and you're doing yoga, that's a great way to tie everything in.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Like, they look at your tongue, and it's super cool.
What does your tongue tell you?
So in acupuncture, it says different things. Like, as a nutritionist, I would look at your tongue, and I would look for like yeast overgrowth and cracks and different like waves in the side, and it's just signs of like you might have a food intolerance, or maybe you have a yeast overgrowth, or maybe you're dehydrated.
Right.
Yeah.
What do the cracks mean? Because I think I got a couple cracks in my tongue.
That's different. So I forget, they call it like a geographic tongue, and I can't quite remember exactly what that potentially means.
Am I going all over the world?
Your tongue has oh no.
Oh gosh.
Oh no.
All right.
But if you have like a color on your tongue, it means like maybe you're having a little bit too much sugar and carbohydrates in your diet, or maybe your body just can't process them properly.
Right.
But that's something, again, like with the zinc, you can look at somebody's fingernails, and if they have big white spots or lines in their nails, that might be a sign that they need more zinc in their diet. I get those occasionally too, even after I supplement.
Right.
I had Nick take this zinc tally test. He came to be one of my practice clients, and he was like, why can't I taste it? But I was told by another practitioner, it does take a while for you to bring like your zinc status up again into the better levels.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your practice as far as what you do with clients.
So I send them some paperwork because I want to get their full health history. And it's about 10 to 15 pages of questions.
Nice.
Which usually deters some people. And I really want to know everything from when you were conceived to current day, because everything has had an influence on your current health. And we go through this timeline, and we go through your medications, and we go through any procedures you've had done, and what doctor do you currently have, what supplements are you, everything. And we go through this questionnaire, the first sit down we have, and then from there, we make little tiny adjustments in lifestyle and diet. So I might just send somebody home and say, take a nap every day. Like, you need to relax, like, calm down. Or I might say, all right, you're really nutrient deprived, I assume, based on your diet. Go get some blood work done by your doctor to see what your vitamin D level is so we can supplement with vitamin D. And then I might be like, well, here's a recipe. Why don't you try making this kind of salad because it has this kind of green in it, and I might ask people to stop eating some things, but usually I say, let's add some more stuff into your diet. I'm not like, no sugar, no fat, like,
right.
I tell people usually to eat more fat, just a different kind.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's not scary. Most people think going to the nutritionist is like going to the doctor, and it's going to be scary.
Okay.
I'm not mean, I'm nice.
No, you are very nice. You are very nice.
And nobody wants to be hungry. I try not to let people go hungry.
So would you ever tell me that, hey, you might be drinking too many beers?
Oh, I mean, that's something that's very sensitive. You have to be careful how you phrase it.
Mm-hmm.
But it will show up because it's a major source of calories. So if somebody comes to me and they say they're trying to lose weight, but they're having a lot of beer every weekend with their buddies.
Or every night.
I'm going to be like, well, so this is going to be a major barrier to your success.
Right.
And then I have to ask the person, what do you think we can do to change, some things? Or what are some things you think you can do to help reach your goals? Because everybody knows to a degree what they need to do to help themselves. I'm just here to kind of help them through the process.
Right. So is it possible, I'm asking for a friend, by the way, to work out and still indulge in alcoholic beverages?
It depends what your goals are, because alcohol really depletes nutrients. It keeps your body from producing protein. So if you're working out at the gym and you're lifting weights and then you have some beer at the end of the day, you're really kind of counteracting all the rebuilding of new protein and muscles.
Right.
So if you really you want to see some major changes, you want to feel really good, I would say 0 alcohol. If you really want to see some major benefit, or if you are going to drink, it has to be within moderation. Men, government standards say 1 to 3 beverages at most, and then it's considered binge drinking after that.
Get out of
I
here.
know, it's
That's
really...
the same thing I told that friend who asked that. I knew that.
Yeah.
But, I'm just asking for him or her. We're not going to call any names.
Well, and it's all a part of just building, new habits. And sometimes your friends' habits kind of bleed into your life. So.
But not mine. They don't.
But not your life.
Yeah.
Other people's lives.
Right.
But even just putting on your sneakers and going for a walk, or having a cup of water in between your alcoholic beverages, those are just some small steps you can make to improve your health but get a little bit closer to your goals. Because it's not sustainable to say, tomorrow I'm cutting out all sugar and alcohol and I'm going on a low carb diet. You're gonna go crazy.
Right.
And you're gonna go get your snack foods and your beer and binge on it. Typically that's what happens.
Wow.
No deprivation. That's not fun. But slow, little, tiny changes is usually how. And then eventually it turns into just lifestyle.
Right.
And you're this healthy person working out, eating your oysters.
Eating my oysters, getting my zinc on. All right, so I think we got the best of all worlds here. We learned about nutrition. We learned about acupuncture. We learned about sperm counts.
Oh, my.
And I just want to thank you for letting me talk to you, and thank you for sharing your knowledge.
You're very welcome. Come back anytime.
I'll come back. The coffee was great.
Thanks, Gardner.
All right. All right, good people. I hope you enjoyed the show. Learn a little bit more about the nutrition of oysters and why we should eat oysters. And I even got something out. The acupuncture. It's something that I've always wanted to try. Or I'm not gonna say I wanted to try, but that I always thought was interesting. And maybe I will try it out one of these days. Get the guts and get stuck, or maybe not. Who knows? Uh, Again, I want to thank you guys for listening, and I also have a little gift for you guys. I want to give you guys some Oyster Ninja podcast oyster knives, and so I'm gonna give it to the first 5 people who send me an email. The first 5 people who send me an email, you get a oyster knife. Oyster Ninja Podcast oyster knife. So shoot me an email. Tell me something you like about the show. Tell me something you dislike about the show in the email, and I'll shoot your oyster knife. Uh, don't worry about shipping. I got you. I appreciate you guys for listening. I thank you guys for sticking with me through everything. And let's let's sweeten the pot. So if you shoot me an email and tell me something you like and dislike about the show, you'll get a oyster knife. If you shoot me an email and you leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, whatever platform you listen to it on, uh, just hit a screenshot and send me a picture of it, and I'll send you an oyster button also. You'll get an oyster knife and an oyster button. So again, thank you guys for tuning in, listening to the show. I hope you enjoyed it. And I wanted to also tell you about my experience with oysters this week. Actually, nothing to do with the oyster class, but I was feeling a little sick and my throat's still a little raspy. But I ate some oysters. I ate 2 dozen oysters. You know, believe it or not, I did. I threw them in the oven. I didn't eat them raw. I just got the cold off them a little bit, let them pop open, and I promise you, like instantly, soon as I ate those 2 dozen oysters, I it put a little energy in my body. I started feeling a little better. My head, the headache came down. That's just the power of oysters. I'm gonna leave it on the oysters and a prayer sent up because I just really wasn't feeling it. But the oysters, guys, I'm trying to tell you, they're magic. They're like abracadabra, and anything can happen. Um, but yeah, that's just my experience with the oysters this week. Tune in next time, and I think the next episode is gonna be with world famous R. Murphy. Yep, R. Murphy knives. I got those guys coming up in the queue. So keep tuning in. Check us out on Instagram, Oyster Ninja PC. The traveling raw bar. Sorry guys, S. Shucking, and yeah, stay tuned. And I guess that's it. Just stay tuned. Peace.